Hello and welcome to the Modern Romantic Podcast, where we celebrate and inspire romanticism through passionate people who do incredible things. Hi, I'm sculpting my way to a brighter tomorrow. Hi, I'm Trey, and I'm joined by somebody who is always bringing such optical joy to my life. Emily. Hi, Emily.
In the form of strange facial expressions and random gestures.
And slight judgment, but it's coming from a place of love.
You're like, can you please be cheesier? Oh, we have to get a cheesemaker on. We have to get a cheesemaker on the show now. I don't know why I didn't think of this before.
We absolutely have to so that we can be so cheesy, like even more so than we normally are.
We can have so many cheese jokes ready.
Well, that's Gouda by me.
Oh my
God. How have you been, Emily? I haven't. It feels like I haven't seen you in a while. How are you?
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Good. I've been in fundraiser world at work, and I haven't been very creative lately because I've just been surviving. But it's done now, and I'm good. How about you?
Doing well. We closed the run of Murder on the Orient Express. We had a completely sold out run, which was great. When we'd get a ticket that opens on a single day, we'd say in our group chat that all the actors had, we'd say, "Oh, there's a ticket open for Wednesday." 5 minutes later, "Oop, ticket gone." And so we got a lot of nice feedback. Now that that is done, I am caroler coaching for A Christmas Carol.
That's right.
And then I just had an audition for a play, and I am waiting to find out if the results from that. So more to come. So lots and lots of theater.
Nice.
Yeah. But I'm also excited to talk to our guest today. So Emily, would you mind introducing our fantastic guest?
I would love to.
Perfect.
Tonight, we are talking with someone after my own heart, glass artist Alex Bernstein. He grew up in the glass studio world and now works out of Asheville, North Carolina. Woo, North Carolina. And creates incredible sculptural pieces out of glass, full of light and depth and color. And I'm really excited to get into it. But Alex, welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Hooray.
Yeah. Alex, the first thing that I was struck by was the fact that you started off in psychology and then you made your way into glass. Can you, how? And can you walk us through that journey?
That's logical. What are you talking about?
Sure, yeah. Now, how long is this podcast, did you say? Because this could be a long story. I will give you the abbreviated version. Both my parents, William and Catherine Bernstein, are glass artists. And this is fairly unique in the United States because studio glass, or what I do, make glass sculptures out of my own studio, is relatively new. Previously, glass was only in the factory. In fact, glass was one of the first factories ever built in the U.S. And you think, why did they build a glass factory when we colonized this land? Well, glass is very fragile and it's very heavy, but you need glass for windows when you're building houses. And you also, for drinking glasses, it's something that you would need to use. So they built a glass factory because the raw materials are sand, soda, and lime. And on the beach, there's sand. Soda and lime come from the shells. You can grind the shells, and then there's abundance of wood. So you fire it up and you could fire a furnace. So the first factory in the U.S., you can fact check me, in the U.S. was a glass factory. So again, I said could make this a long story, so I'll try to jump back in more of the current times. But so both my parents, William and Catherine Bernstein, are glass artists and kind of the founding members of the studio glass movement in America.
Cool.
And again, that is like where somebody's like, "Oh, I'm a glass artist," and you just didn't have that. And it's, I think, only like 60 years old where people were really, where there was academic programs where glass, where you could study glass and get a degree in glass, is really around probably 60 years old. Stained glass and things like that are probably a little older. And, of course, ceramics. People have been digging mud out of the side of a mountain or by a pond or a river forever. So people were doing ceramics, but glass, again, is relatively new. So growing up, to get back to your question, growing up in a glass studio, both my parents are, doing glass. It was all their friends were glass artists. I basically grew up in a glass studio, glass blowing, which is something kind of different than I do, but glass blowing's where you have hot glass in a crucible, in a furnace, and you get these, 5-foot poles of steel and you gather the glass out. So I literally grew up playing around in a studio. But like some kids, I didn't want to do what my parents did. So when I got older, it was just like a job for me. I would, in undergrad, I thought, I did art. It's kind of all I knew. And then in undergrad, I got jobs working for local glass blowers. But then I went to the University of North Carolina in Asheville, and I was like, well, all I know is art. That's all I've done. And all I know is glass blowing. But what I'm also interested is why people do the things they do, why people behave the way they do around others, and how people perceive the world. And then psychology fed that that interest. And I was like, well, I know I already know art and I know I already know glass, but I want to do something else. And so I actually studied psychology in undergrad and actually worked at a psychiatric hospital for children for almost 3 years after undergrad. Before then, at that time, I was kind of doing glass on the side and doing some of it. And then I kind of more and more fell in love with it. I stopped working for other people and I started doing my own glass as I was working second shift at this hospital. So I had basically the morning time. I had to work from 3 to 11. So I had the morning time where I could do glass. And then fell in love with it. Sorry for the long answer to your short question, but so yes, glass psychology, and I mean the fact that I do abstract work now, it really kind of all came together because my work is abstract by design, and how people perceive the world is shaped by your experiences, your dreams, your memories. And so you might see one of my sculptures and say, that looks like a coral and I remember snorkeling with my dad in the Caribbean when I was a kid, and that reminds me of this. And so somebody else might say, oh, it reminds me of a tree because you grew up in the mountains or something. So I think having a background in psychology really informed what I do now. Again, apologize for the long answer.
No, don't apologize.
Don't apologize at all.
Yeah.
No.
Because, I mean, I was going to ask, and I think you answered, which was, how does psychology impact the way that you design? And it sounds like you go after what you want, but you're more intrigued by how the audience perceives that art. So it creates a conversation.
Yeah, totally. That's you nailed it. That's exactly. And even for myself, I mean, glass, and I don't want to wax poetic about my own work, but glass to me is just amazing. It's literally sand that you apply heat. I mean, like I said, other chemicals, you apply heat and you can get this perfectly clear crystal. And it can be so many different things. It can, it can be sharp, it can be soft, it can be smooth, it can be rough. And, it's something we use every day and people don't really think about it, but it's in industry, it's in, MRI machines, it's in all kinds of things. And spending a lifetime around it, I still walk into my studio and go, wow, look at that. And again, I'm not trying to, it's not about my work. It's not that I made something great. It's the innate qualities of the glass that I happen to use. And so it's really the glass. It's not even me. And I'm like, look how amazing this glass is. Yes, I mean, I get a little credit for doing interesting things with it sometimes, but it is an amazing material. And I think it is the kind of thing that does spark wonder. People look at that. Making some optical work and I grind the glass at a 45-degree angle. I don't want to get too far into the technical stuff, but I grind it at a 45-degree angle and then perfectly polish it. And then it makes a reflection of the inside. So it reflects what you're seeing on the inside. So as you walk around, it literally looks like it's moving and waving. It's almost like an image turning on and off. And again, I knew about the glass and I've been around it all my life, but I'm still like, wow. And when you take that, to me, it's like, oh, it's like climbing up steps, or it looks like somebody rock climbing. And I just had a collectors group visiting from Pittsburgh, and for them to walk around and be like, wow, this reminds me of this, that, oh wow, this looks like that. That is the part that's really fun for me. I mean, I think some of my work, maybe people would see it and go, oh, that definitely looks like this, or it reminds me of that. But sometimes it's kind of way out of left field, and I like those. Yeah.
But how nice when other people can get excited about it too.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's very rewarding and very challenging.
I bet.
Hmm.
When you then have taught glass to other people, was that something that you found that, oh, well, I've grown up in this, I've done this for so much of my life, going back to teach like basics.
Hmm.
Glass is sharp, kilns are hot.
Hmm.
This is how you cut glass. Was that kind of it's kind of what one of those, was it one of those things where like you don't realize how much you know until you have to teach it?
I mean, a little bit. I think teaching is really more about learning. I think when you teach, you learn more, almost more than the students do, because you have to know what you're saying so well that, to me, it's really more like, oh, I'm a teacher, but really I'm learning. And every day when I was in academics, I was learning. But to be totally honest, out of graduate school, I didn't understand how I could make a living being an artist, and I thought I need a job, and I got a master's degree, which is a terminal degree in the arts, so it's as far as you can go, and it is a teaching degree. In academics, I heard there's some PhD programs now, but when I came out, the MFA, most all the professors had a master's, and quite frankly, I was just like, I need a job. And so I did it I thought I wanted to teach, but I also wanted to have the stability of having a job, and
Sure.
didn't realize that I could really make a living doing glass. However, my parents raised my brother and I and supported us. So I did know that you could make a living, but I was pessimistic, and we definitely, we grew up with very not a lot of means, and so it was always like money was always a constant discussion with the family, and we were limited with money. I was like, well, I would like to be a professor. That feels good, having a salary and healthcare. But I really did fall in love with it. I was only in academics for about 6 years before my career kind of really took off, and various things happened, and so I did it for about 6 years, and now I teach workshop classes. Like, I'm teaching
Okay.
the Penland School of Crafts, which is in Penland, North Carolina, which is about an hour from where I live in Asheville, and so I'll be teaching there this summer, and hopefully some other workshops. So
Cool.
it is fun. Yeah.
So awesome. Um, you mentioned this a little bit before the podcast started, but in the process of creating the glass, there was a time when steel mixed with glass a little bit, and there's a particular word that you associated with it. And
Hmm.
can you tell us about what that term is, and how did you coin that term?
Yeah, I would be happy to share, but it's top secret and it's copyrighted, so I can't tell you.
Oh,
Just kidding. I'm just
dang.
kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I developed a method of fusing steel to the surface of the glass, actually, technically any glass. I have a soda bottle that I made totally opaque, covered in steel, by using the same process, and it's called Bernsteining, which is my last name as a verb. I didn't come up with that name, but my students named it that, kind of to, I guess, show me respect or something. Back in the day, there was a lot of blogs, and people were posting. It was kind of before social media, where blogging was really popular. I want to say this was like 2002, maybe sometime around there,
Mm-hmm.
2004, maybe even later. So people would post a picture of their piece on this blog, and then people would comment and say, oh, this is something new. So on that, somebody said, oh, I saw this guy did this, and this is called Bernsteining. So I found out about that later. But The process happened 100% by accident. So it was kind of like my penicillin, although it's not as, not as great as penicillin, of course. But I was in graduate school, but I was home for winter break in my parents' studio. So I was here in North Carolina, and the winter break was it was a whole month, maybe even 6 weeks long. It was a long winter break, and I literally couldn't get back into my studio up in upstate New York where I was going to grad school. My father had welding equipment, and I'm not sure if you know that much about welding, but it's basically taking two pieces of metal, and what I was using is this angle iron steel, and then you apply heat, and you're trying to mix one metal with the other metal to basically bind them together. And usually there's a third flux. So there's a third flux, and the heat typically is with electric, which is like you're basically making an arc that melts the steel. There is gas welding and other things. So I was doing this welding, and my dad set me up a little practice area. I didn't know how to weld. And so my dad set up this area where I could practice welding. I wasn't very good. And if you're not very good at welding, you get this ugly, bumpy, gross weld. And it's kind of like burnt on top of the steel, so it's not even part of the steel. But you can get rid of that by grinding it with an angle grinder. So if you've ever seen somebody working with metal, grinding metal, like even like on a highway, or they're working on a bridge and you see these sparks flying everywhere. So sparks fly everywhere when you grind metal. So I had these ugly welds, and I was grinding them away, and sparks were shooting everywhere. And my dad's shipping and packing, I guess my parents' shipping and packing area was right next to where I was grinding. I didn't think anything about it. And one of my dad's kind of larger pieces, I'm using my hands, but for people that are listening, it was a large piece, probably 2 feet tall. And it was clear glass that had been sandblasted, so it basically looks white. And it again was close to where I was grinding, and I didn't think anything about it, but I was grinding away. Their sparks were shooting onto my father's piece. I didn't think about it, but it was just, the sparks were going everywhere. And I went to clean up. I was, a good kid, put my dad's tools away, cleaned up after myself. And then I looked at my dad's piece, and it was covered in all these gray specks. And I was like, oh, crap. And I realized that each spark is a tiny little piece of steel that's molten, and it melts into the glass. So glass has this innate ability to melt briefly. So it was accepting the steel that was melting into it. So I go home and I apologize to my dad. I was like, I'm so sorry. And he's like, okay, well, just don't do it again. I went back to grad school.
And did it again.
Yeah, well, yeah. And this was going to date me, but I remember vividly, my parents had set up an 800 number for my brother and I, like,
Okay, sure.
before cell phones, and my brother and I, or my dad, called it 1-800 I need money. So, because whenever my brother and I would call, it was usually to ask for money or something. But I called the 800 number. I remember, like, Dad, what if that steel, like, I ruined your piece, but what if I intentionally ground steel onto the glass and, like, just covered it? And my dad's like, the glass will probably break. It'll get too hot. I don't think it'll work. And so, being a good son that, took his dad's great advice and put it aside and just did my own thing anyway, I took a piece and I went outside because it's really dusty and loud. In there, I was in graduate school in Rochester, New York. The studios were inside, and they're almost like kind of classrooms. And you didn't, we could do some work, but you didn't want to do loud, heavy work inside the studio spaces. So I got an extension cord, and I got an angle grinder, and I had a piece of glass and a piece of steel, and I just went right outside of the sidewalk, and it was just right in a little, like, grassy area, and just started wailing on this piece of glass with steel. And one of my professors, actually Robin Cass, came up to me afterwards, and she was like, well, we knew that you hadn't slept very well, like you haven't been sleeping that much, and you've been stressed out. Grad school isn't easy. And she's like, we thought we maybe should have intervened. We thought you were having a mental break or something. You were out, like, grinding steel. She told me that later, but I brought it in, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? So it was, one of these breakthrough moments in a career. I mean, you guys probably know this, but artists spend their entire life developing a visual language. I mean, I'm shouldn't probably speak for all artists, but typically,
Yeah.
all artists are out searching for this visual language, and it's like, how do you know a Picasso is a Picasso? You walk in, you're like, that's a Picasso. Like or Rothko. There's some artists, even for people that aren't that familiar with artists, you're like, oh, there's a Warhol. Most people would recognize it. That's because Andy Warhol or Pablo Picasso has a style that you recognize, and that's their visual language. And so I, as a sculptor, it's not like I sit there and go, I got to get my language. I got to figure out words to say. It's not one of those things, but it just comes out as your own style. But now, after I discovered this, I had a really big word that I could use to describe my artwork, to tell the stories which are my artwork. You know what I mean? So I had this opacity that I could mix with the translucency of glass. And also, I mean, there's concepts and metaphors with the fact that I'm coating this translucent, transparent piece of glass and I'm making it opaque. And then once the glass is covered in steel, I can patina it or rust it. And rusty glass or rusty steel, by definition, has passed time. So there's some time that has passed. And so now, as a concept or conceptual work, I can make my work that might be brand new, but it's rusty and has this kind of feeling of age, or almost like it's some relic from history. So I can use that steel to express my stories. And, you know, if you look around at my work, you'll see that I don't do it on everything, because I don't want to do the same things over and over. I don't want to tell the same stories. I want to try to tell new stories. So if you look through my work, some have it, some don't. It just kind of it depends on what kind of story I'm trying to tell. Does that make sense about the steel? Does that answer your question?
100%.
Yeah.
For our visual listeners, is the piece behind you the bluish green one? Is that covered in steel?
Yes, the outside edge is covered in steel, so it might be a little hard to see. I don't know if I can move this a little bit, but yes. So you can see, and to me, these pieces, and actually the purple one over here, again, with this lighting, it's a little hard to see, but for me, I want them to look almost like core samples, or something that was, you know, carved from the earth or dug up, and it has this kind of crust on the outside. If like a geode.
Yep,
You know
that's
how
what I
geode's
thought.
like a rock on the outside, and then there's this beautiful like crystal or whatever they are inside. I love geodes when I was a kid, and I used to go to these mineral shows and was really just blown away by stones. And so with this steel, I can roughly recreate it. You know, I think that you're never gonna top Mother Nature. I'm always in wow of things from nature, and so I never even try to make something that's realistic or looks like nature, but I want to make something that looks like it could have been from nature. So I don't try to make representational art that really is like, here's a flower, I want it to look like a flower. I make things that maybe spark, again, this kind of inside that spark these memories and the history that you had that looks like something I know, but I'm not sure what it is. And I like that fact. And with the steel, I think I can do that, where that looks like something I know, but I'm not sure what it is.
Absolutely.
I was going to say geode. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah,
Sorry,
totally.
Trey.
No. I was struck by that one. For me, it kind of looks like a wave also.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still in the realm of Mother Nature. So yeah, I have been fascinated since we started this podcast.
And then if you look behind me, there's
oh my God.
This is, and for the people that aren't watching, I do a series of crystals. So these are these pieces that are crystals. And again, I don't want to copy Mother Nature, because I'm going to be doomed to fail. I want to be inspired by Mother Nature. So I was on the board of the Asheville Art Museum for many years, and I used to live close to downtown. And if you've been to Asheville, the museum is downtown. And so I'd walk from my house in this neighborhood called Montford, and I'd walk to my board meeting. I was pretty early one day and just walking through town to go to a board meeting, and there was a gem and mineral store on my walk, and I was like, let me pop in here and look at it. It's actually still, I just saw it last week. It's still there. And this was like, 15, 20 years ago. And I walked in, I was looking around, and I was looking at these natural crystals. And, a natural crystal by definition is something, it's natural, something from nature. And how these crystals form, I mean, honestly, I should probably look them up, research it, and know, but I don't even know how they happen. Something in the earth crystallizes, comes together. But I was just blown away, and I was like, this is so amazing, beautiful, and it looks like glass. I wonder if I could make something out of glass that looked like a natural crystal. So right around the same time, I used to be an avid cyclist, and I'd gone to the Dolomite Mountains in Italy. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but to me, they look like sculptures of these mountains that are made out of just these huge stones. And when I say huge, it's like I don't even know how to describe it, but they look like these monolithic, like just stone outcroppings, but they're just insanely large, and they're kind of jut out everywhere. I live in the mountains here in Asheville, but ours are covered with trees, so they look furry and soft. In the Dolomite Mountains, there are these like crazy stones. So I was blown away by the stones in Italy doing this cycling race, and at the same similar time, I had seen the crystal, and so I started to make a crystal. And my inspiration isn't usually very literal, like, oh, I'm gonna make that. I don't go for a hike and say, see that rock? I'm gonna make a rock that out of glass. Like it's not usually. It usually trickles in. The ideas just kind of like flow in. But these with the crystals, I made a natural crystal, but so since I made it, wasn't natural, so I made a glass crystal. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. It kind of looks like a crystal, but it's abstract enough to maybe not be. And then, if you can see, and then I made another one and set it down next to it. And I was like, oh, they kind of look cool together. And then I made a third, and with something about a third, like a triptych. Then I was like, oh, it looks like a mountainscape. So these crystals together kind of turned into, to me, landscapes or mountainscapes. And I mean, sometimes people think they look like cities, and I see that I have made something that looks like skyscrapers. So yes, that the natural crystals and being inspired by nature is pretty huge part of what I do.
Yeah, they're kind of. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying that, and getting back to the abstract question is like geodes and that, so they have crystals and things that look like geodes. But again, I'd love to see what other people think. And these, like when the sun comes, that they're kind of like prisms, and it just throws the color literally all the way across my room.
That's awesome.
My studio is 50 by 60, so it's 3,000 square feet, and it literally, with the long way, the 60-foot way, I'll get that pink color will be all the way at the end of the wall, so it will just project the light. And like I said at the start of this podcast, I still go, wow, look at that. But it's not really me; it's the glass. I'm manipulating the glass, but it's just an amazing material.
Do you put new pieces over there in the sun intentionally just to see what it's going to do to the room?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's no better place for glass than, just anywhere near natural light.
Yeah.
Knowing that you can't always get that. And so, I mean, I try to make sure my pieces look good no matter where they are, or look how I like them. I have to be realistic. But yes, I'm like, wow, look at that. And so I like to see it. And my wife gets sick of me sending her pictures and stuff. And she's like, I know, honey, that looks great. I see it. And it's not, I mean, I have to be clear. There's no one that's going to be more critical about my artwork than I am.
Right.
And everything I do, I'm like, but I don't like that part about it. Oh, I wish I could have done that part better. And I'm just brutal with my artwork. So I don't want it to sound like I come in and go, wow, look how great I am. I am amazed by what the light does with glass. And again, not even just what I did, it's just how the light interacts with the glass is truly amazing.
Yeah, I can relate to that. 'Cause I do some glass fusion, and
Right.
one of the things that because the kiln's going to do still what the kiln's going to do. So when it comes out, I have an appreciation for it, not because necessarily of what I did, but because of simply how it turned out.
Yeah, totally.
So I get
Yep.
that.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. It's also a very temperamental material because it can crack and break. I've had several pieces just break for various reasons
That's horrible.
in the last week, and it just happens. If it was easy, then it probably wouldn't be as fun. And so it's challenging. Like, I'm literally the luckiest person I know because I get to do what I absolutely love, and I somehow, knock on wood, make a better living than I ever dreamed possible. Like, I don't understand how it works. I mean, I still can't believe that people are like, I love that. I want to here's a lot of money for that.
Right.
I mean, it is an expensive thing, so it's kind of a big gamble. I invest a lot of money into making the work, but I just can't believe how lucky I am that I get to do something that truly, when I'm in my studio working, there's really no other place I want to be. If things are going well. Today was a little bit of a brutal day, so today maybe is not the best day for me to be saying this, but it is. It's really what I want to do. It's what I love to do. It can be super, super challenging and extremely frustrating, and I care too much. Like, I feel like that my son has the same thing. We're both sensitive men, and it's like I'm filled with empathy for everything, for friends, for everyone. And I don't know, I feel like I have a hunch that I know a lot of artists that are more sensitive people that are drawn to that. It's not a scientific study. It's nothing, but it seems like I know quite a few, and I feel badly for my son. I'm happy that he's empathetic and cares a lot, but it also makes me feel, I know that it's hard. It's a hard weight to bear because you care so much about everything. So when I make my artwork, I just want it to be so good, and then I'm almost always like disappointed. It's like, oh, I wish I could make it better. And so it's amazing and awesome, but it's not always easy because I have this like cognitive dissonance of like, oh, is that right? Is that not? Like this inner dialogue constantly of the frustration. Anyway, sorry. I don't think you even asked me that question. I'm just
No.
rambling on.
I feel like this is the kind of the plight of the artist as a
Yeah.
whole. Like, we do this show like just about every week, and just about every week, that's kind of what we see, a common thread where
Is that right?
artists, yeah, it's like, at some point you kind of have to just put it out there. Like, this is it, this imperfect thing that I wish was better. It's kind of done, but I'm not going to touch it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. It's
with every art form, if you wrote a book, you rewrote it and proofread it and proofread it and rewrote it so many times, and at some point you just have to. Same with music. Trey's that way with so you have to eventually the show is scheduled and you have to put on the actual show and not rehearse anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes you probably feel like you nail it, Trey. I mean, you're like, oh yeah, I nailed that. That was perfect. But there is like, yeah, I'm like, that's the best I could make at the time. But there's still like, how could I make it better? Like, I love to cook too. And my wife, Jessica, she's like, can you just enjoy the gnocchi? We made gnocchi last night, sweet potato gnocchi. And I was like, oh, the sauce was a little like, my mom's staying with us. And so anyway, and even today I was like, yeah, just that sauce. I put a little pinch of sugar. Maybe it's too acidy. She's like, can't you just enjoy the dinner we had last night? But no, I've always, and I think that's from me being a maker, that sure. It's everyone. I was like, well, that's good, but could I do something different to make it a little bit better? And it's not always fun place to be, but I think it's probably why I've had the success I have, is because I do care so much about making everything the best I can.
Probably. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
otherwise you wouldn't innovate and push yourself
Yep.
the way
Yeah,
you have.
totally. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
There's a
Not
thing
always
that
fun.
there's a saying that someone said to me of food tastes better when someone else makes it because you can
Mm-hmm.
just enjoy it. You're not so concerned with the prep work of that and the whole
Yep.
process of doing that because you're
Yep.
editorializing the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
So for some of our artists out there, is there something that you do to help yourself overcome that, or that you have to remind yourself in a way to stop editorializing, just enjoy the thing, enjoy the moment?
Absolutely. And I tried to do that today. There's the part of the process is what I call roughing the sculpture out. So I put glass in the oven and it melts together, and then it has to cool very slowly. And one of my pieces, like literally 3 weeks, even a small piece is probably 10 days of it cooling. So there's a long while where I have to wait. And I think I've mentioned before, I have 3 different ovens. So there's usually one coming down, one going up, and then one I need to load, or one's empty or waiting to be loaded. So I have something to work on. To me, the easiest part and the most fun, well, yeah, probably the most fun, is the roughing out part, where I'm just hogging at the glass, I'm grinding away. So I work like a stone sculptor. So I'm doing subtractive sculpting. I'm taking away material. And I mean, not to say that like the mindless part is the most fun, but there is, you almost get into this like Zen zone of just grinding away, where I start to rough out the shape, but I don't have to like really make it that perfect yet, because I'm just kind of smoothing up things. If there's any issues that I don't like, oh, there's a little bubble here, I'll grind that out, and there's this or that. So yes, the roughing out part is where the to me the most fun, where I can just zone out and work all day. Is like, oh my gosh, it's already 5 o'clock. I can't believe I worked that long. The most challenging to me is like the last 10%, 5% of finishing a sculpture, the final little details. And you're like, oh no. And that's what I should have been doing today. But since I was like having a little bit of a rough day today anyway, I was like, I'm gonna give myself the pleasure of just starting something new that doesn't have a time deadline, that I don't have to finish right away. I have several commissions, and so those I'm like looking at pictures and trying to get it as close as I can. Everything I make is totally one of a kind, made by hand. So I have to, sculpt it by hand. So commissions are something I have to be super thoughtful about every little bit, because I want it to be as close to the original. And today it was just physically working. And to me, I think mental health is for me like related to using these. And I'm holding up my hands for people that are watching the video. So I can't speak for everyone, but I mean, I think in a digital age where people are on their phones and people, aren't that happy, I think sometimes just physical labor is the best thing to move on from the stresses of life. And again, I can't speak to everyone, but when I'm actively working or doing something in my studio that's manual labor hard, then that I can just really kind of zen out and feel almost in a flow state. When I have to like be really thoughtful and, okay, is this standing straight? Well, it's a little crooked. I got that can be the hard part. But when I need a little boost, I'm just gonna just start grinding some glass
Yeah.
and just go at it. So yeah, that's for sure the fun
Have
part.
have you ever made a piece that was so heavy that you realized it was too heavy, or like now I can't really lift this effectively?
A little bit. I mean, I do have a lift table, and I have several people that work for
Okay.
me. So I have people that will help, and I yeah. So sometimes, and I have equipment and ways I can get around it. I have had double lateral surgery for various different things, and I have hernia surgery,
Okay.
and that's probably from lifting glass.
Wow.
I have almost 14, a 13-year-old son. He's living with a disability. He's not able to walk, so he's in a wheelchair, and so I carry him around a lot too. So it's possible it's from that, but I try to keep healthy and fit to help move him around in the world and also move my glass around in the
Right.
world. So it's important for me to try to stay healthy. And I am like not smart sometimes. I'm like, I shouldn't be trying to lift this thing up. But there are kind of limits to what I do. I mean, the cast glass world, there's foundries where you can like send something off and they'll make it as big as you want it. But I really like that. And that's awesome. I thought about doing that where I could send a model and they'll just make it larger. But I really like to get my hands in the glass and work with it. So, yeah.
And then have you ever made a piece that you, like, I guess you said you do commissions, but I'm assuming you make something and then people get inspired by it and they like it and they want one too. So, and maybe you do commissions where it's like, oh, I have this idea. But my thought was, have you ever made something just to make it and you were intended to maybe sell it or put it in a gallery somewhere, whatever, and you were like, absolutely not, this is going in my house?
I mean, not my house. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of. Yeah, actually, yes. I mean, I do have some in my house. I have a lot of my parents' work, and we do have a small collection. But I do have shelves in my shop that are like my personal private collection, and there are pieces, and some of them are historic pieces, and I actually been at this for almost 25 years, and we've been talking about a retrospective show. So following my
Oh,
career
neat.
for like the first 25 years, and I do have some pieces that were from graduate school or just important kind of benchmark parts of my career where I was like, oh, that was this time where I came into this series and I started to do that. So there are some that I will keep, or I try to save one of my nicest pieces from a certain series. I work in different series, and exploration of a new idea is really what drives my passion. So as you can probably tell right now, I'm pretty passionate about what I do, but so I have a lot of different work, and again, like the visual language, I hope that most people would recognize that it's my work, but I do like a variety of different series because I'm always looking
Sure.
for something new and something different. And there are some artists that will have a similar series that they work on kind of their whole career, and I have total respect for that and think that's awesome. But to me, I open my studio and I look around and I'm like, I want to see something new and something different, something exciting. I was like, oh, I have to make it. There's nobody else around
Yes,
here.
right.
So it's really up to me to find something new and to make something different. And I do like to do that. And there are several series, and there's some that I've kind of put away. We had this horrible hurricane, Helene, came a little over a year ago, and early in my career, I did this series that I called Seed Pods. So they look like a seed on the bottom. I think there's probably some on my website. You can look later. And then it almost looks like plants growing out of it. And again, it's abstract, so I don't want it to be literal. But the Seed Pod series, and they were probably one of my first successful series, but quite honestly, 20 years ago or when I started making them, I wasn't, people didn't know me as well. I mean, not that I'm famous, but I think,
Yeah.
people in the world of glass have, some people have heard of me. And so because of the hurricane, and I had a show, Lahana Gallery in Maui. And I don't know if you remember the horrible fires on Maui, and Lahana, the town, was basically burnt down. But thankfully, the gallery was in a different town and it was okay. But so when you have a tragedy like a hurricane or a fire, it's like you can look in the dark and be in the dark for a while and try to heal and go through that. But then also, like, what's the only other option? And is to like keep growing and keep moving. So I went back to this seed pod series just to think, because I was like looking and there's literally trees everywhere. I live kind of on a mountain, not kind of on a mountain. I live on a mountain. And it's amazing. I can see downtown Asheville. It's beautiful. I get to see the mountains.
Awesome.
But it's, trees everywhere, and we lost probably 60% of the trees. So we lost hundreds of trees, and you just look and you just see dead trees everywhere. And it was like so dark and all these dead trees. And I was like, I just want to see some color. And I thought, with all these dead trees, just how Mother Nature works, something new is going to grow. And so that's when I was like, I'm going to make these seed pods. And they're also very colorful. So I thought that, we need more color, especially around here and in Maui. So I went back to a series that I hadn't done in, again, 15 or 20 years, and kind of reinvestigated in the rebirth of that series. That was really rewarding and fun.
And timely. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Earlier you said that you're an explorer, and through that, it sounds like now you really do pursue what interests you or what inspires you. But I'm curious, have you always been an explorer? And if so, how does it compare to now versus when you first realized that you were such an explorer?
Let's see. I mean, I'm always looking for new ideas, or exploration of a new idea is definitely what drives my passion. So, but if I look back, I would call it curiosity. So as a kid, I was always very curious, whether that was really exploring. Yeah, I guess it was. It was exploring the world around me because everything was new. I grew up in the country, and woods and trees and streams, and I'd be like, oh, look, a crawfish. And I would, I was that kid that was always interested in, like, oh, look at the rainbow, look at the sunset. I think that was innately me. I was always an explorer. I also think, or now that I'm older, it seems like maybe I have ADHD or am neurodiverse in some way. My son's neurodiverse on the autism spectrum. And so looking at him, I was like, oh, well, maybe that is, and I think I have this kind of innate way. And to me, it's my superpower, because I do feel like that, oh, look at that, what is that? Squirrel. I have that mind, but I can do a bunch of things at once, but I'm also just totally dialed into something that I find really, really interesting. Does that make sense? So it's like,
Absolutely.
I think this exploring, I mean, they didn't have ADHD when I was a kid. I don't think that diagnosis existed, and I haven't officially been diagnosed, but I do tend to have a lot of ideas. But I also can get hyper focused and super focused. I'm usually always on time for stuff. So I'm not sure, but I do think that this idea of exploring the world around me was started as just a curious kid. I remember my parents were like, okay, enough with the questions. Hey, Dad, what is this? Hey, Mom, why does this happen? And I think with the glass, I'm still almost the exact same way. What would happen if I do this? Ooh, what if I try this? Oh, wow, what would happen if I try that? So to me, that's the exploring. And I think I've probably always been like that, a curious person.
Cool.
I love that. And I think that's something to be celebrated.
Thank you.
Yeah. I really do. Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite? This is totally something I just thought of.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite color of glass you like to work with?
I mean, I think blues and greens, but it's probably a little more like purple lately, and this pink color behind me.
Yeah.
I've been slightly obsessed. I have these two pinks, and they look very similar. Actually, a different pink, and maybe I was just insecure or something, because I didn't really ever use pink. Hadn't ever made a pink sculpture, and then I was like, oh, this one of my suppliers. I was like, oh, I haven't tried that pink, and then it turns out they had 2 other ones, and so I have these three different pinks. And actually, the piece behind me, it's hard to tell. The 2 colors look very similar, but that's actually 3 different shades of pink.
Okay, sure.
The one in the middle you can see is lighter, but then the 2 closest to that are lighter, and then the darkest is on the outside. It's a little hard to see from here, but so that is a color that I'm like, wow, that's really nice. Probably previously blues. I tend to have a lot of blue pieces in my sculpture, and I think it's because the sky, also green trees. I'm really drawn
Nature.
to that.
Yeah. Nature.
I would say that I love color, but sometimes it's too much for me. And I started this series of optical pieces that are just clear glass. So it's clear, and typically it would be with steel, or sometimes I don't even put steel, it's just sandblasted. And through the years, I've worked with optical lead crystal, and I've done different series, and I do love the color, but probably like I like the ones that aren't as colorful and as bright sometimes. And again, when the pink sculpture shining 60 feet from the window against the wall, I still say, wow. But I kind of sometimes like my more subtle, where there's just the rusty steel and the clear glass, and it's not as bright and colorful. Right after our son Max was born, he had an injury. Unfortunately, had to be airlifted to the NICU, and it was a scary time. And he was very, very sick for the first year of his life, and so it was kind of an introspective time in my life. And I did these, I think, kind of very formal lead crystal kind of monument pieces, and those are probably still some of my favorite. There should be some on my website, but these kind of monolithic. I mean, they had. I was cutting the glass and then melting it back together, so you see lines almost like rings on a tree. And it was just the time of life, and quite honestly, it was a challenging time. And so I didn't have any colorful glass in my studio. It wasn't a conscious decision. I wasn't saying, okay, I'm not using color, but it was just a hard time and a challenge, and it just kind of came into my life. And not that the pieces I made weren't beautiful, but they were more subdued and subtle, and probably still some of my favorite. And obviously, I love the color too. But I'm not afraid. And if I probably had a choice of one, I might go for just making the clearer, more subtle stuff.
I imagine there's a little bit more challenge in that too, because there isn't the color to maybe distract, or maybe I don't know, and maybe I'm incorrect there, where I think like the things that I find to be sometimes the things I find to be like, I won't call them mistakes, but they kind of are mistakes, or things I didn't intend in a piece. If it was colorless, it would show up more. So I feel like having just clear is probably even greater challenge. At least it sounds that way to me. Is that right?
I think that's true. And again, when I was in academics, the students always, it was, I don't remember exactly the joke, but if you can't make it good, make it blue.
Because everybody loves blue.
Yeah, and
I've heard this.
Yes. Or if you
Yes.
still can't make it good, make it red or something. I don't remember exactly how it went, but it was something definitely like that. And it is, I mean, again, I'm going to be more critical than anyone about my work.
Sure.
And the fact is it's really, really easy. Like this is just a block of the raw material, the glass that I have. I mean, just that is pretty.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to do that much. So it is, I think it can be easier to make something that, wow, that's pretty. Just, it could literally be a pile of glass on the floor and it looks pretty with the color. So I think it potentially can be more challenging with the clear glass. And I think I like that challenge. However, with the clear glass, you can do optical things that are sort of mind bending as well. So,
Sure.
but it is, there's nowhere to hide for sure.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of similar to like a black and white photograph.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make sure your the technical things that are more noticeable than like lighting
Mm-hmm.
are spot on so that your black and white photograph can shine the way it should without color.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like our house is a like mid-century ranch, and it's very simple, but I love the aesthetic of mid-century kind of modern, and ours just happened to be that era. My grandma had a mid-century, and but there's really nowhere to hide because it's all just about clean lines, and there's not crown molding everywhere and all kinds of things to make it. And if the drywall is not just right or whatever it is in your house, then you see it. So it's kind of the same thing with glass, I think, and with art for sure.
So when you because you've taught and you've had bazillions of people that have looked at your work and contacted you and just been in your world, at this point, what is one piece of advice you would give to a beginner who wants to get into glasswork, similar to what you do?
Oh, I mean, I would say that my advice was be careful because it's super addictive and it's super fun.
Yes.
So,
Can confirm.
yeah, I mean, it really is. It's a magical material. I mean, and like I'm really truly not just trying to say that because it's what I do, but it is. You quite literally take sand and apply heat, and you can make this molten crystal. And I mean, you can take sheets of glass and put them in an oven and melt them together, and you can literally take this molten like lava kind of stuff out of a furnace, and you can blow bubbles in it. So it is very, very exciting. But yes, I guess my advice was be careful because you'll probably get addicted to it, and it's an expensive hobby to have, I think.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think, that's a little bit joking aside, but if somebody was a serious student, I guess I would say I'm pretty serious about everything I do. So I was a pretty serious student, and, learning the basics, I remember I actually originally was trained as a glass blower.
Okay.
And kind of like Venetian style, and making perfect thin blown glass. And I took this 2-month very intensive class at this Penland School of Crafts, and my instructor at the time, I think Dimitri Michaelitis was my teacher, and we basically for 2 weeks only made the certain shapes, and we could only make like a cylinder shape and a cone and a reverse cone, like kind of like a volcano shape, and no color. It was all just clear.
Oh.
And
Wow.
that it's almost like is it Karate Kid? Am I aging myself again? Like the original,
no.
like wax
No.
on, wax
Right.
off.
No.
Just forever you're painting the fence
But
like that.
but
Yeah.
I do think the fancy fun stuff is fun. But if you think that you want to have a serious career, then I would like really like there's building blocks of learning the techniques before you jump in. And again, like all the time, all my students, and this is again mostly glass blowing. Glass blowing is kind of the sexier, more exciting. It's performative. It's like dancing, and so glass blowing is people tend to be attracted to that, and students always want to say, I want to make it really, really big, and I want to do this. And I was like, no, let's make it really good, like this big first. And if you can make it really good, then you can try to make it really big. And they never listen. They're like gathering 8 gathers, and they can barely, in the pipe spending, they drip glass all over the floor. I was like, okay. But so yes, I would say just follow the steps and slowly hone your craft as you go, and then also have fun. It is super fun. So if it's something that's more like a hobby, you don't want to take it seriously, then I think it's fine to throw caution to the wind and just see what happens. Some of the craziest things that I've seen are students that don't so I taught a class at Pilchuck Glass School, and it was about glass as a material for sculpture. And so it was meant to have students that are artists in other media, but they wanted to use glass, and they didn't know the limits or the rules of glass. Can I do this? Can I do that? And they would always try stuff, and they're like, that's not going to work. And we had these sculpture majors. We had a poetry. We had all these people that were artists in their own right, but just wanted to try to use glass as a material to make sculptures. And sometimes, if you don't know, you can try stuff and it works out. Like, how did you get that to work? That's amazing. So sometimes breaking the rules is okay too. But yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Because sometimes what you're told, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Is just not going to work the way that you're going to do it.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, for sure.
And sometimes being told no is a great challenge, and let me show you I can.
Yeah, exactly. That happens a lot.
Well, Alex, I want to make sure that our listening audience can stay in touch with you and follow your journey as you continue to explore. What is going to be the best social media for our listening audience to follow you?
Mostly Instagram. I think I have 200,000 followers, so it's Alex Bernstein Glass at Instagram. And then I did just start. Meta was encouraging me to start a Facebook page. I had my own personal Facebook page, but I do now have a Alex Bernstein Glass on Facebook that I'm trying to build up, but mostly Instagram. You should be able to find me there. And I do have a website. If you Google Alex Bernstein Glass, and my website I think is Alex Bernstein Glass as well, it comes up. But you have to, with Alex Bernstein, you have to say glass, because there's several Alex Bernsteins. There's professional football players, Alex Bernstein. So there's a lot of other Alex Bernsteins that might come out ahead of me on the Google search. But if you type glass, that should come up for sure.
You're so multi-talented.
Yeah, not a football player. I'm not a big dude, so for sure.
Can confirm, because when I first looked up Alex Bernstein, it was football was like the first thing that come up.
Yeah. I wonder if he ever gets people reaching out that are looking for me. I doubt it.
That's a great question. We should contact him and ask him.
Yeah. Are you the glass artist?
The last question that I have, we ask all of our guests this, and it has nothing to do with anything we've talked about. It's just one of those, we just want to know.
Okay.
You are sitting down to have lunch with somebody. Could be anyone alive or dead. Who is sitting on the opposite side of that table?
I guess, I don't know why it just popped in my head. I think I just saw Anthony Bourdain, but Barack Obama. Like, he went to a Vietnamese restaurant, Anthony Bourdain with Barack Obama, and they were just chilling, eating pho, I think. And I was like, man, that would be fun to like sit down and talk to a ex-president and just talk stories about what it's like to be a president. So that one just popped in my head.
I'd want to be at that table with both of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, not just one now.
Yeah.
Now it's two. Yeah. That would be an interesting conversation. The three of us.
Yeah,
the three of you.
I think that Anthony Bourdain's still probably out there. In fact, I believe I watched it, but it was like, I want to say it was like just plastic chairs they were sitting in some hole in the wall restaurant in Vietnam and sipping on beers. And it's just something disarming about seeing a president like sitting on a plastic table drinking a beer with seems like much more accessible that you could just like say hi. So I don't know, that was the first one I thought of. So
still, that's a great answer.
Thanks.
No one's said that one before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Alex, it has been a pleasure to get to talk to you. This hour has gone by so fast. You have such a passion for glass. And I'm so happy that you entrusted us with Bernsteining. We will carry on this trade secret with great, great honor.
We're telling nobody.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's been fun.
Thank you. This was a pleasure.
Sure.
As we close this episode out, please go follow Alex on the various social media, just for repeating's sake, alexbernsteinglass.com. Search for Alex Bernstein Glass on Facebook and wherever else, so you get the right individual. Because if you contact the football guy, he probably won't know who you're talking about. Can't confirm. He may direct you. I'm not sure. But still, go support Alex wherever you can find him. You can find additional episodes on our website, themodrom.com, or wherever you tune into podcasts. And if you'd like to, we do have a Patreon. Please support us there. Search for The Mod Rom on Patreon. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening. Bye.